Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to the folks across the globe. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. I am Saukartika from TSI and I would be the moderator for this session. Today we are presenting Salient Features in zTPFGI version 1.3.8.0 presented by Richard Henry. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the session, please click on the hand raise button so that you will be unmuted to proceed with your questions. Now, without further ado, we will turn the time over to Rick. Our presenter today is a system engineer who have been associated with TSI for close to an year and who have overall of 36 years of experience. And his fortes are C, COBOL, TPF, TPFDF, Linux, Lisa service virtualization. Richard, now it's your turn.
Okay, good morning, good evening, everybody. What we're going to go over today is just some of the features. We presented most of the new features in a webinar last month, and we thought it would be interesting to actually see the features being used in the product itself. So we're going to cover customizing the font size for the tree and list of windows, displaying tooltips for the tabs on the dock view, sort and filters for vParse system lists, object insight, ECB create attaching an MI block on D0, asynchronous resource enhancements. We have 3 new traps, the function breakpoint, the ECV value breakpoint, and the register value breakpoint. Message capture and the long message input. Now we'll switch over to the tool. Okay, one of the problems that I've known several people has asked me about is that the fonts on the left panel are really, they're not adjustable, and they tend to be really small, especially for people with older eyes like myself. So with the new zTPFGI 1.3.8.0, we now have an option that you can adjust the fonts that are in these left panels. The host files, the PC files, the library files, all of those panels now, the fonts can be changed. And you do that by going over to the File tab and the zTPFGI option. And then there's a new box down here, the tree and list fonts, and you're allowed to check that, and you can pick your font size. So the normal font size was defaulting to 10, I believe, and so now we can get it to a more readable 14. And then that's carried over through all the different tabs. And let's reset that back. Okay. Another thing that TSI has done in this left panel area was there's icons down at the bottom that tell you this is now your host files, this is now your PC files. And before, when the this panel was such a width, you couldn't see the labels on those tabs. If we expand it out again, we can see that it says host files, PC files, project. But then when we bring this in, the labels disappear. Well, now we can mouse hover over the icon, and we get a tooltip that tells us what that icon is representing. So it'll say host files or PC files, projects. And then another one of the enhancements was the sorting of the available vPARs. So in those installations where customers have many vPARs, the available vPAR list tends to get quite long, and it can be a royal pain to keep scrolling through. When you bring up the list of the available systems, the headings the headings line up here, you can now select each of the headings, and it'll sort. So you can sort by the system ID, or a real handy one to sort on is the system status. And then you can also filter. So we don't have much here to filter out of, but if we put VPZ, you'll notice the one that was VPS disappeared. So it'll only show you the systems that match your filter. And you can string filters together. So you can separate them with a semicolon. And then there's a tooltip as well. The next thing I'd like to show is Object Insight. Now, in some installations, Object Insight might be available, but it's really being released with this new release that's coming out. So what Object Insight is useful for is on C objects. You can do it on either the shared object or the SO or the .o file, but it's recommended to just do it on the .o file. And if you right-click, you can see there's an option for Object Insight. And in it, you can either search for a field to figure out which header that the field is being pulled from, or you can see a drop-down of all the included headers. Let's do a and then it finds references in C_EB0EB and in netdb.h. And then if you depress the plus sign, you'll get which line in the header where the field is defined. And then if you double click on that line, it'll bring up the header. So then you can see how the field is defined in the header. The other thing that I think is really slick in this tool is you can go and, let's see, we'll stick with the same header. And it will quickly generate the displacements in that structure. So it's real handy if you're having to verify between headers and macros and things. So it's one of the easiest ways I've seen to get all the displacements. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is try to create an ECB and then have our input block on D0. So let's connect to a test system. Okay. And then when we click OK, it'll create the ECB just like it did in the past. But now when we look on data level 0, we have a formed MI block complete with the length of the message and then the message character at the end of it. So, oops. There, sorry. Okay, and that brings us to the asynchronous trace enhancements. So we can quickly demonstrate the three three that we have. The first one we're going to look at is the set function breakpoint. And what we're going to try to do is have it stop in one of the functions in this shared object, CEXC. Instead of having to remember what the function name is and type it out, we can select Browse, and it goes and pulls up all the functions that are in that shared object. Then we can select the ones that we want to trap on. And then we click OK, and OK, it'll create a function breakpoint, and it's showing that it's stopping at get command data and execc_help. So then we'll quickly over here and generate the entry. And it's stopping it at get command data. And so there we are at the beginning of that function. So let's get out of here and get to the trap ECB on the register value. Then we're going to check on the register value is trap PGR. We're going to trap TST4. We can select which register we want to trap on. These are our trap conditions. We can have equal, not equal, less than, greater than, equal to, and less than, and equal to, and greater than. And this time we're going to trap on equal to, and then it takes a hex value input. So we're trapping for hex 64 100. Okay. Let's switch back over here. That was pretty quick, but it'll tell you that it's captured the ECB, it's captured it with a register value of equal 64, and then here we are in source level trace. So and then the last excuse me, the last asynchronous trap we have is trapping by a value in the EBW area. In here, again, we pick the program name. We can select which ECB tag we want to trap on. You can give it an offset in the range to scan. Again, we have the same comparisons, equal, not equal, less than, greater than. Our comparison data, and then on the trap by an ECB value, we're given the option to what sort of data type we're looking for, character, hex, decimal. So in this case, it's character. And again, it sets our breakpoint. It tells us that we're doing an ECB match on EBW0 for, oh, I think I picked the wrong displacement. I don't think this is going to travel. Sorry. And again, it traps the ECB, and it tells us system. Oh, hadn't come up yet. It tells us, oh, my bad. But anyway, that's how you would catch it for the ECB trap as well. The next one we're going to show is message input. Let me clean up here a little bit. Now, we've always had message log, and message log logs the input and the output that's going on in the terminal. And that's really nice to have as a complete record of everything that you've done. But it's also nice to have a file that's generated that you can just turn around and run back into the system. So if you turn on message capture and then ALC1, it's going to capture all the inputs and it's going to place them into a file, that input, which is set up for our message replay. So we can do let's see. TNR. You can see up here in this ALC1 that input file, we have all the entries that we made, and then we can turn right around and stop capturing this. And then play it back into the system. And the last thing we've had with the, it seems that agent entries have gotten longer and longer as we've come through the years, and they look less and less like agent entries. So the original limits for an ALC terminal was pretty much what the hardware limits of the actual physical terminals used to be. And now we've modified what the maximum input can be by using a message input file. Let's see. Oh, not saved. And you can see this is substantially greater than a normal screen size. And then we can set this in. And there's no entry to back this up. I had just copied this as an input from someplace else. So, but we can, let's see. We can trap it, and you can see on data level 0 that the entire message is captured to level 0. So, okay, I believe you can open it up, Sakarthika, for any questions.
Okay, thank you, Rick. A gentle reminder to all the attendees over here, if you have any questions during the session, please click on the hand raise button so that you will be unmuted to proceed with your questions, or you can enter your questions straight away in the question chat box.
Sakarthika and Rick, this is Ed. Can you hear me?
Hi, Ed.
Hey, Rick. I have one related feature to add to the last one you made. If you could go back to the, you can also paste in a large input now using a new button.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you bring up the ALC1.
Sure.
And then right-click it inside of it somewhere.
Okay. And then where do I go to paste?
No, I'm sorry. Inside of the terminal itself.
Oh, okay.
And then say large input.
Oh, okay.
Then, yeah, exactly. Where, you know, wherever you would copy from, you can paste into here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I wanted to point out.
Okay. Oh, okay. And you can see the message down here and what it's what it showed. It just came back with the illegal function because there's no entry to back up that the example.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ed.
You're welcome.
Rick, we have a question from Logan, and the question is, does the object insight work for ASM as well?
No. It's for C and C++ only.
Okay. Okay, Logan, that's the answer for your question. And a gentle reminder to all the attendees over here, if you have any questions, please click on the hand raise button so that you'll be unmuted to proceed with your questions, or you can enter your questions in the question chat box. George, and when will this be available?
That depends on the installation. We're hoping to roll most of the features out in the next several weeks. And then the PC software is still in beta, so if you're interested in getting the updated beta, just contact your local TPF support representative and they can set you up. But we should be able to send the beta PC software out to anyone that asks for it now.
Okay, that answers the George question, and he said thanks for it. Okay, there's a question from Benjamin, and Benjamin, I have unmuted you. You can proceed with the question. Benjamin, can you hear us? I have unmuted you.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we could hear.
Okay. For the C function trace, do the C programs still need to be unoptimized?
Yes. I mean, it'll trap it, but if you're going to then do source level trace on it, you're going to want to have it unoptimized.
Okay, thank you.
This is Jeff from TPF Software. That is true, but the unoptimized code should technically trace. It just jumps around a lot. And I know in some installations people have said that it doesn't work for them. And again, we'd like you to contact support if you need to trace optimized C code and it's not working for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Rick, it seems that we have answered all the questions. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you being here. A short survey will open up. You can specify topics for the upcoming webinar session. We'll send you webinar follow-up email within a week's time, which will contain the link of this recorded session. If in case of any queries, contact Customer Support Executive or write to productsinfo@tpfsoftware.com. Thanks again for joining us today, and we have webinars followed on second Wednesday of every month. We'll see you next time. Thank you.